In the Episcopal tradition, we often talk about the via media, the middle way. But today's gospel leads us to a place that feels anything like the comfortable middle. We find ourselves at Jacob's well, in the dust of Samaria under the unforgiving glare of the noonday sun. It's a scene of profound awkwardness and grace altogether. Normally, any self-respecting Jew traveling in the first century would take the long way around Samaria to avoid those people. But John's gospel tells us that Jesus had to go through Samaria. It wasn't just a geographical necessity, it was a theological one as well. Jesus sits by the well, tired and thirsty, and then comes the woman. She's there at noon, the hottest part of the day, for only one reason. You don't haul a heavy stone jar in 100-degree heat if you want to socialize. You go then because you want to be alone. You want to avoid the whispers, the sidewise glances of the townspeople who know your business too well. When Jesus asked her for a drink, he isn't just asking for water. He is shattering 3 massive glass ceilings all at once. The gender barrier, because a man did not speak to a woman alone in public. The racial barrier, Jews and Samaritans were caught in a centuries-old Cold War of religious and ethnic tensions. And finally, the moral barrier. As the conversation reveals, her life has been, complicated. Jesus doesn't wait for her to fix her life or move on before he engages her. He starts with a simple human need. Give me a drink. He makes himself vulnerable to her. In our liturgy, we often focus on what we offer to God, but here the Son of God begins by being the one in need. He meets her in her isolation and invites her into a conversation that will change everything. The dialogue that follows is a masterpiece of divine wit and human misunderstanding. Jesus talks about living water, and she quite practically looks at his lack of a bucket. Jesus pushes deeper. He isn't talking about water, he's talking about the thirst of the soul. We all have our noonday wells, places that we go to try and satisfy a hunger that never seems to go away. Jesus says, you can keep coming back to this well, but you'll be thirsty again in an hour, or you can become the well. Then comes the 5-husband reveal. For years, sermons have used this to paint this woman in scarlet. But in a world where women couldn't initiate divorce, 5 husbands might simply mean that she was abandoned, widowed, or caught in a cycle of systemic poverty and patriarchy. We don't know, but we still jump to conclusions. When Jesus says you have had 5 husbands and the one you have now is not your husband, he's not shaming her. He's saying, I see you. There's a profound difference between being exposed and being known. Exposure feels like walking into danger. Being known feels like coming home safely. She understands she is standing before someone who sees the mess and trauma of her own life, and he doesn't walk away. We often overlook the most beautiful detail in the story. When the woman left her water jar and went back to the city, She forgot the very thing that she came for because she found the thing that she actually needed. She went from avoiding her neighbors to being their evangelist. She didn't go back and say, I found a man who told me how to be perfect. She said, come and see a man who told me everything I have ever done. And that's the heart of the gospel. We are fully known and yet fully loved. And this week I invite you to consider your own water jug. What are you carrying to the well that only God can quench? The good news is that Jesus is already sitting there in the heat of the day, in the heat of our lives, waiting to ask us for a drink. He isn't interested in a polished version of us. He wants the noonday you, the tired, the frustrated, just trying to get through the day you. So may we have the courage to be seen, the grace to leave our jars behind, and the joy to say to the world, come and see. Amen.